Welcome back to the audiences here. And I hope post-lunch has been eventful so far with Dr. S. Raghunath talking about CIO as a strategist. A very apt context, in fact. I think I extend a warm welcome to Sridhar as well. Welcome back, Sridhar. So it's been a year since we've met, since last CIO 100. And I guess it's been an eventful almost 365 days since our last, formal stage setting meeting. So Sridhar will, I'm going to take some time out to quiz Sridhar on a couple of things, which will be surrounding how the cloud conundrum is still a CIO concern and how are we really going to simplify it. So Sridhar, welcome, and thank you for taking time out. I've been kind of watching what CtrlS has been up to for a while now, and seriously from very close quarters. I've been to your office as well sometime this year, so it's been a very heartening experience. So let me really start off with understanding a couple of things here. A being that my opening question, 365 days since we last met formally here. And the last year, I very well recall that CtrlS was talking about expanding geographies, moving across, and also talking about how they're looking at certain, plug and play, banking in a box, and a couple of things that you were very, very excited about. So could you walk us a little through what has changed a little from your end in the last, what's really moved in the last 365 days?
Well, a lot has changed, Shantari, since we met here last year. We were, of course, the service delivery challenges, etc., we were discussing last time. Those are things of the past, and we invested significantly in improving the processes further. And I'm glad to say that we are almost at 4 nines uptime we are able to deliver to our customers at application login for most of the standard business applications. That's on the one side. And the other side, we have opened 2 new data centers. Actually, in September, we are opening them, one in Bangalore and one in Hyderabad. We have, last year when I was here, we were planning international, we were in 2-3 countries. Right now, I'm glad to say we have successfully completed 23rd cloud pod till now. This is across about 12 odd countries that we went to. And in these countries, all of these countries, we have been successful in attracting the conglomerates and very large clients of these countries. And we also became the largest HANA implementer, HANA cloud platform provider in terms of number of customers that we hosted. And in terms of people headcount, we almost went up by 50-60%. And we attracted a lot of cloud players as well as our customers. We did some of the country's largest tax projects. Government has become very active, and we have done probably most of the blue chip government. And a significant development is we could attract some of the Indian conglomerates as well. They've built they're massive in size and scale. I see some traction happening in that space as well. So overall, had been a very, very eventful year. What we did in India in 10 years, we achieved almost half of it in 1 year outside India. And I see the same trend continue over the next year as well.
So taking off from there, it's been my curiosity to understand, I mean, when we are talking about a cloud conundrum, what typically have been your conversations with, understanding? See, I was kind of discussing this point with you. A lot of CIOs have trajected a circle of the cloud journey, and they have multi-cloud environments. So what are the typical challenges that you've really seen your customers telling you, since you front-end a lot of conversations, you're a technologist yourself, and have a proven track record of being a front-end technologist yourself and a serial entrepreneur, what have been your observations from IT heads, who have told you that, I am having a trouble with understanding the onward journey or the horizontal journey of my cloud, and I'm not sure how I need to operate in a multi-cloud environment, and A and B is bothering me. So what have been your...
I still see some amount of dilemma. While everyone accepts, and the surveys have proven that 95% of customers have got at least one benefit of moving to cloud. The biggest case study is the US government, $5.5 billion they saved by moving on to the cloud. While that is happening, there is still a bit of a resistance in terms of, especially in those companies where things are going smooth. They have invested in a data center, they've invested in hardware, people, and it's going smoothly. They're able to get reasonable uptime. And the CIO is thinking, why take another headache? So that's one I have seen. And another trend that I have seen is that security. Still there is a concern on security. That, what will happen to my data, that's another. Plus, of course, they are not seeing the actual benefits of cost. Many of the CIOs I talk to, they haven't seen the actual benefit of cost. It could be because of the consultants who are involved, or the cloud companies, architects who are involved didn't do a proper job. Or sometimes the companies could be efficient as well. But I want to submit a few things about cloud journey. The biggest benefit a company can get by going to cloud is not just cost savings, not capex to opex alone. They get their bandwidth freed up. The management bandwidth which is required to run your own data center, the cost of it is we tend to underestimate. The CIO is spending 50% or 70% of his time in running the operations. That's something which needs to be, which can be easily be avoided, which he will invest that time in improving productivity or launching, helping business. That's the biggest benefit I see. Second biggest benefit is there's a huge technology disruption which is happening. We are seeing that, especially in enterprise app space, SaaS is going to disrupt the whole economy in the next 10 years. What does that mean is that sooner or later, whatever the investment that you're making, you have to change in any case. If you're on a cloud already, changing the switchover is the easiest thing to do. You can simply, move on with minimal effort. Whereas if you have invested on the hardware and licenses and everything, which is suitable for a particular technology today, which is going to be disrupted in the next 2-3 years, that's another big benefit that I am seeing. Apart from the flexibility, the scale out, easy scale out that comes with the business. So coming to your another point of multi-cloud strategy, that is with respect to those who have already started outsourcing and gone to the next level of multiple cloud sourcing that they are doing. They're way ahead in the second phase of. As the industry is maturing, the supply ecosystem is evolving. The way I see next 5 years from now, every company using at least 2, if not 3 cloud service providers. Reasons are very simple. There's on one side you have a very large technology companies who are very good in scale out, who are very good in spinning out instances, etc. On the other side, you have players like us who are services led, who specialized in managed services, who specialized in industry solutions. And There are some other SaaS players for the peripheral applications. That's the overall thing that we are seeing. So a company might adopt, the way I see it is that at least two, one smaller services-led company to help his journey, who would also help him with the dealing with the larger companies' instances and providing services on top of it. That's the broad outlook that I am seeing, and the trend is emerging very, very clearly. There are cloud managed service providers then who will do this. Where CtrlS could play, for example, a distinct role in this whole in Cloud 2.20 journey is we have invested in centers of excellence for all the major cloud platforms, whether it is Google or AWS or the Azure. And the companies can use our teams, our tools and processes to seamlessly manage this entire journey of using all the public cloud service providers, plus manage the transition from the legacy. You have today you have a set of hardwares, a set of data center, they have a certain shelf life left, and that's where the resistance to change comes. And those can be streamlined. For example, there are cases where we went in and bought the current assets that the CIO was, the company was holding, including the data center and all the hardware and software. And then we transferred them into our data center to begin with, and then slowly when the end of life is happening, we shifted on to public cloud or our cloud platforms. The whole journey took about 2.5 years, but this is one of the large insurance companies which has transformed completely from our legacy in-house data center and serviced by the traditional service providers to that of a completely cloud-enabled, including the DR and everything. It took about 2 years journey, but it was smooth, seamless, and at least 40% benefit the company has got, apart from the bandwidth getting freed up and other benefits.
So when you're talking about 40% benefit, what are the parameters here? What 40% are we? Can you break it down?
They saved 40% on OPEX, and CAPEX became zero, by the way. It's a significant saving that this company could achieve. We could bring in that CIO one day. Yeah. There are many case studies like that. Many. Yeah.
Sure. So one of the defining things that third-party data suggests, for instance, IDC, Forrester, and Gartner, and at least as far as cloud computing is concerned, is the emergence of cloud service providers and managed service providers. So where is the benchmarking actually? So now you being CtrlS, what are the things customers should really be wary of, or what should they be really looking at?
It's not easy to migrate from a cloud provider to another. So while all the agility, flexibility that we talk about, definitely there's going to be a pain of migration. So be careful, number one. Number two, especially it's going to be extremely difficult if you get tied up to some of the tools available with a cloud service provider, whether it is search or whether it is some of the APIs. They make the life easier to go in. They make it 100 times more harder to come out. There is recently in one of the customer, they have developed the new app. It was a new application on one of the cloud service provider, and when they wanted to shift, it became a huge challenge. We successfully helped them do it, but it was a months of effort and a lot of pain of doing that. So that's another area that I see. Other than that, most of the things are very, very positive on moving on to the cloud.
Sure. So you said that there is a way in and there's a way out as well.
Yeah, way out is not so easy, by the way. Yeah.
Sure, That's a tricky area actually, and that maybe merits a separate discussion in itself, which
Oh, yes.
people would want to do offline with you maybe. Right. So just curious to know, you brought out a couple of good use cases in the conversation now about an insurance company and one of your largest customers. Anything that was a very defining piece that you would want to share here, where I think during some of our conversations over this year, there were some public domain case studies of yours, which I think had very good illustrations of migration, which again I think benchmarked to 40 to 50% savings for the customer. Anything that you would want to share here, Sridhar, which is public domain and where you'd feel free to talk about, especially in your community cloud and
Yes.
other ones as well.
We have developed the strategy of going the community cloud route, and we see the biggest benefit of community cloud to our customers as well. For example, traditional banks take about at least 6 to 9 months and a huge effort. They generally put a PMOs in the large teams to deploy the core banking and other applications, and normally it takes about a few millions of dollars before the actual act starts, and we have disrupted that whole space with bank in a box approach. We did that entire work beforehand with the technology providers, of course, and went back to the customer and said that these are the benefits of joining this community cloud. Number one, your biggest concern of security is addressed. This is how it is addressed. It meets the RBI regulations, and we will underwrite RBI compliances. We will deal with the RBI requirements, auditors, and we will underwrite the risk of whatever it takes to get it done. And there is a flexibility of getting everything. There are about 20 plus business applications for a bank apart from core banking, right? There are many things like anti-money laundering to, apart from standard debit, credit, etc. So all those applications with 40 plus information controls from using different security architecture, we developed this, and I'm glad to say the benefits of the public cloud has been much more than 40% of the traditional thing, and we got 80% market share of all the new banks which have become operational.
Sure. So just to cap off here, you spoke about, my opening question to you is about expansion. So how significant are other markets, and how does it actually throw back to customers in India when you're actually exploring other markets? How are you also cross-tapping and cross-functionalizing your markets in India? So what's the way forward for CtrlS?
We have established a global team now, and obviously, especially in developed markets, the team strength which is coming, the skills which we are, the people who, the team which is joining us, we see it as obviously adding a lot of value to the Indian entity as well. Plus, of course, the conglomerates, Indian conglomerates today, their job becomes much easier. They don't need to deal with multi-country taxation, security of the data, if it is hosted outside. For everything, there is somebody in India who's taking the ownership of the same. Apart from that, the scale of operations is bringing in, we are able to afford a lot more people, processes, technology, which will further improve the uptime as well as the quality of services over a period of time.
Sure, great. So anything else that you would want to specifically add in, Sridhar? Because, since we've had a 365-day catch-up, so anything that you want to sign off in particular here?
It's extremely glad that I came here. I'm able to meet all of you. This conference, especially, the way you all put together is amazing, and the people that come here are, interacting with all of them is I go home with a lot of rich ideas. That's how we go back and develop right? So this is one conference which gives me a lot of ideas to work on. And I can once again congratulate all of you for winning these awards and being a part of IDG community. And these are interesting times where major disruption is happening in our space. Almost, I would say, 60 to 70% of what we are doing right now, we won't be doing after 5 to 10 years or maybe more. We will be doing different things. The roles are getting changed, the CIOs, right? And we will, CtrlS, on behalf of Team CtrlS, we are committed to help you in this journey over the next 5 years. Thank you very much.
Sure. So, great insights. Thank you very much, Sridhar, for your active support and your messaging here. Thank you, and maybe you could have more conversations with, over the course of the day. You would be around. So, for those of you who have questions for Sridhar, which you couldn't ask him yesterday, you could still ask him today. Please feel free to reach out and have your questions answered. And thank you very much. That was Sridhar Pinnapureddy, Founder Managing Director of CtrlS, in a chat with us. Thank you, Sridhar.
Pleasure.